Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today's motion. This House supports government censorship of social media. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go very far, allow me streamline our case as the preposition said. As the preposition said today, we stand to censor social media of information only concerning state-sensitive or managed issues. What do I mean by state-sensitive or managed issues? By this, I mean and refer to anything that's likely to compromise the national security, which may be highly classified. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I go very far, to understand today's motion, we need to understand some of the keywords. Allow me explain what censorship means. Censorship refers to the suppression of speech, public communication, or other information that's concerning. Censorship refers to the suppression of speech or public information that's concerning state-managed issues as streamlined by our case. Social media, on the other hand, refers to a virtual platform where information is shared by millions of people. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the preposition said today, we come before you telling you that, yes, social media is important. It's so important to share information. It is even a right of people to freedom of speech and expression. But at what cost? Should so many people die, millions of people die, just because of one man's view? Because, ladies and gentlemen, all over the world, in the 21st century, we've seen cases and examples of where propaganda on social media has led nations into conflict. Take, for example, here in Uganda, recently, last year, during the campaign period, Aine, an AD to Sejusa, was rumored to be partisan, and yet he wasn't. And this caused a national uprising. People almost killed themselves on the streets just because of one man's view. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what we come here today to say is national security is an obligation. It is an obligation and duty of the nation to protect its people. However much it is a right for people to have freedom of speech, we believe that it is more important for an obligation of a country to its people for security to be followed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, why should we censor social media on information regarding state-sensitive and managed issues? First of all, I'll get to you. First of all, we need to protect the nationals. Ladies and gentlemen, just as I had said before, millions of people have died. Millions and thousands of people have died because one man posts his view on a very important national issue and he causes an uprising that kills people. Again, we believe that by doing so, we'll greatly and profoundly suppress uprisings, because in so many of these countries, for example, the Arab uprising a few years ago, which was a very social media-based thing, because so many people came up through social media, and this affected countries. Countries haven't yet recovered. Countries like Syria, people are still dying every day. Thousands of people, because one person can wake up, post his opinion, and therefore influence the lives of so many people. One person's view can influence the lives of so many people. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not think this is right. I may take your point of information.
I'll ask you to clarify the meaning of state sensitivity.
Okay. By state-managed issues, I said this refers to anything that's likely to compromise national security. Moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, today's major aim and goal drives at seeing a secure Pan-African future. Now, aspiration number 4 of Vision 2063, according to the AU, is and looks at nurturing mechanisms for peaceful resolution of conflict in Africa. Clearly, by doing so, this is a very peaceful mechanism of controlling so many conflicts, so many deaths on the African continent, and therefore, I'll get to you. We shall be directly applying and hoping to achieve aspiration 4 of the Vision 2063 of the African Union. Moving forward, Article 22. Article 22 of the Human Rights Declaration clearly states, and it's here, it clearly states, I'll read to you, and allow me quote, everyone, as a member of society, has the right to social security and is entitled to realization through national effort and international cooperation, and in accordance with the organization and resources of each state. Ladies and gentlemen, Article 22 clearly supports us. It says, society, everyone in society has a right to social security and the realization through national effort and international cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to risk the lives of so many people just on the views of a handful of people. We're not going to massacre millions of people. We're not going to let millions of people die. Millions of future lawyers, future doctors die at the hands of one man's opinion. Moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, if we come back to Africa, where we are, Article 3, this is so much work that's supporting our cause. Article 3 of the African Union Charter states, Objective F, states and looks at promoting peace, security, and stability. And by doing so, censoring social media on information concerning state-managed and sensitive issues, we are clearly helping out in Article 3 of the African Union Charter. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, at what cost must we lose millions of Africans? One man's opinion? Is that justifiable for millions of people to die? At what cost are we looking at securing our Pan-African future? Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, as the preposition said, we, as the preposition said, say that there should be a clear line drawn between romanticism and wishful thinking of people and national security. It is a national obligation and duty to protect her citizens. Thank you very much.
Social media. Before further ado, I would like to define social media. I would request all of us to be attentive with most of my definitions. Social media are any forms of electronic communication, example websites or any microbloggings, through which users create online communication. Let's be attentive. Through which users create online communications to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content. This is according to Merriam-Webster dictionary. Now back to the point. The measures that the government has taken to restrict, the measures that the government is suggesting to restrict their citizens' freedom of expression or access to information, which is specified to be the information which is against the information against any state mattering issues. Now, dear judges, a point was brought up before that people die. There are deaths of people through propaganda posted or shared on these social networks. Very fine. Now let's come back to the real problem here. What is the real problem? Is it the social network that is the real problem here, or it is the man? They stated it very clear that why should we lose millions because of one man's view? That is the reason. One man's view, not where one man's view is given to. Now, if the problem is one man's view, even if we censor the social media, the views will still be given. Because before these social medias were born, views were given. So now the problem here is with the view. The problem is with the one man's view. That is what, as the government, as the citizens, we are supposed to deal with. Now, we are supposed to focus on what views our people give, instead of where they give it. I don't know if you get the real problem here. The real problem is not the platform. Now, we censor social media and deny. We censor social media and deny all the pros that it comes with too. I don't know if you understand. Now, there was also a problem. There was also a point brought that, but we have to nurture mechanisms of peaceful conflicts. Yes, these conflicts that are nurtured, they are nurtured by people. They are nurtured by human souls, not Instagram, not Facebook, no. We are trying to look at the core problem here. We are intellects. I'll take you in a minute. We are intellects. Let's look at the real problem here. Let's look at the mature problem. The mature problem is us, ourselves. These problems are caused by man. They are done by man, facilitated by man. The only thing that social media does is expose it. Now, the problem with us, if we take care of the population, if we take care of us as us, even if whatever is published, whatever is exposed, whatever is advertised, because our people are carefully done, carefully made, carefully raised, then it will not matter, dear judges. So I want us to concentrate on the real problem here, which is the people. The real problem is who actually facilitates and not in which means they use. Yes, I'd like to take you.
I have two questions.
Yes.
Do you accept that social media is a platform to spread propaganda? And what solution do you have to the problem, which is the people, I believe, which the government is trying to work on?
Thank you very much. First, yes, it is a platform. A platform. Now we are here dealing with the real problem, which is who spreads it. This is our solution. Let's train Africans. Let's train ourselves to know which is wrong and which is right. Let's train ourselves to properly use these platforms, the social media. Now, if we are trained to use the social media well, then we will not need to censor it anymore. Now, this is same as in a school.
Point of information.
Denied. In a school, students are powering food. And then now what do? We seize food, no more food in school. That's what we're trying to say. We are forgetting the real problem is what is done. Denied. The real problem is what is done. So what we do, we train our children that powering food is not right. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the real problem. Seizing food provision is not actually tackling the problem, it's tackling a part of it. Now, if it's spreading of information, if we censor social media, information will still be spread, meetings will still be held, demonstrations and strikes will still be held, dear judges. So I'm asking the House to deal with the real problem here, which is the people and not the social media. There was also a point of human rights. There was also a point of human rights. Dear judges, I'd like to read the 4th Act of 2013 of South Africa. A person's right to privacy entails that such a person should have control over his or her personal information or any information, or that person should be able to conduct his or her affairs relatively free from unwanted intrusions. Now, this is a human right. They give us a point about human rights. This is also a right. I have a right to give any opinion free from any intrusion. Now, what do? Because my opinions allowed?
Do you believe your opinion is worthy of My opinion? I'll explain. My opinion is able to solve this problem from the core. My opinion is able to solve this problem from where it started, from a human soul. That's where it started. The problem with me posting bad stuff about president is not the social media. It's not Facebook or Instagram with the problem here. Please, let's be clear here. The problem is not with Facebook or Instagram, no. The problem is with how do we use it. Now, the problem if it's how do we use it, then let's turn ourselves to use it well. This is the problem here. Let's use it properly. Now, let's train ourselves to use it properly. Not seize it, not censor it, no, because it has advantages too. Now, the following speakers are going to speak about, I've spoken about the point of human rights. The other speakers are going to speak about blocks transparency, the censorship of social media blocks transparency, and the censorship of social media defies or seizes the spread of valuable knowledge. To conclude, I'd like to ask all of us to hold hands and deal with the end and leave the freedom. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, resolved, this House supports government censorship of social media. Ladies and gentlemen, my first speaker came here and defined censorship as the suppression of speech, public communication, or other information. Ladies and gentlemen, he streamlined this debate in a direction where he talks about the impact of some information, how sensitive some information can be when it has been released to the public. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past few years, social media has evolved. Social media has become a powerhouse. Social media has gained the ability to influence not just one person, but an entire nation, the whole world. The world has developed into a social village, and we are being linked by this social media, ladies and gentlemen. Social media, therefore, has political, economic, and social power over these people. Ladies and gentlemen, my first speaker came here and talked about the evils social media has caused. He talked about last year, Aine, one of the aid of Sejusa, a simple opinion that had been placed on a social media platform led to a country's uproar, ladies and gentlemen. A single opinion led to risking lives of many people in a country, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, today we believe and the very aim of Pan-Africanism, we are supposed to secure a future as stated by our direction in the African Union Aspirations of 2063. And the African Union Aspirations of 2063, Aspiration 4 of the vision states that we shall require a peaceful and secure Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where Africa is heading. We require a peaceful and secure. We cannot put the lives of many Africans at risk just to promote the right of one African to free speech. This, ladies and gentlemen, can lead to widespread deaths because of just one person's view. Let me go on to talk about the human rights. They came and also talked about human rights. So when they talked about human rights, they talked about the right to speech. But then they didn't talk about the Article 22 of the Human Rights Declaration. Everyone, as a member of society, has the right to social security. Everyone has the right to social security and is entitled to realization through national efforts. Last year, during Uganda's elections, the public was informed of cutting off of some social media platforms. This was so as to protect the nation from some uproars that could be built on social media. The nation informed and got the public to realize the value of this, and they did realize. This might be the reason as to why we had a peaceful election as it was. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go on to break down aspiration 4 of the African Union. The aspiration also states that it goes down to break down that mechanisms for peaceful resolutions of conflicts will be functional at all levels. The whole of Africa is on our side. This is why we are at a point in which we see that some peace is being restored to a previously violent Africa. And this peace should remain and not be tampered with because of the opinion of many people. The current speaker, ladies and gentlemen, came here and he told us that the problem is not the social media, but rather it's the people. And he said the people is what they are going to work on. But ladies and gentlemen, can we change the nature of people? People are born with an inborn evil. You do not teach a baby to steal. You do not teach a baby to lie. But it so happens, I will take your point of information. Your point of information.
Thank you. You're saying that it is people who can't be nurtured well so that you can end a problem. But don't you see that even us, as in a part of Africans, we were changed our mentality through assimilation. So it's completely sure that people can be molded and changed into a...
Time, please. You can't stop there. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go on. Since I didn't get what she was trying to say, she consumed most of my time. Maybe another speaker will deal with that. So let me go on. He also talked about... he talks about how one man's view can be changed. But ladies and gentlemen, one man does not start an uprising. One man does not lead a nation to cause it to turn upside down, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, he needs a platform. He needs somewhere where he can spread his views and grow what he believes is right, what's his mind. Everyone is born differently. Therefore, they have different views and ideas and perceive life differently. That cannot be changed. That is the nature of human. And therefore, a man cannot stand alone with his view, with no platform, and say he's going to lead an uprising. But rather, he needs a platform to spread his views. That is why social media has been a major reason and a cause of many uprisings. Therefore, this should be censored so as to prevent one man's view from affecting the lives of 1,000 Africans. The obligation of the government, ladies and gentlemen, is for national security. We have to do what we have to do to see that the people have a protected and secure well-being in their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk about the London uprising in 2016. This also came about as a result of information being transferred, and the uprising came about as the group was formulated on a Facebook group. This uprising later caused multiple deaths in London as the blacks believed they were being oppressed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a clear example as to how much and how important it is to censor everything that is being portrayed on social media. We cannot risk the lives of multiple Ugandans, all in the sense of giving them one right. Yet, the right of the nation is to protect and secure national well-being. The Africa we want to secure, the Pan-African future we want to secure, is a future of peace, security. Our vision of 2063 is a vision where we shall see each nation doing its level best to ensure that its citizens are properly protected and free from all forms of hate speech and other things that could rather rise from information that has been passed on social media. Therefore, we agree and we do believe that the social media should be censored, not from just information. From information, we agree that information should be shared on social media, but we believe that information that is sensitive should be restricted. The government's obligation is for national security, and that's what we stand for. I rest my case.
Dear judges, the proposers and the opposers, I salute you all in the name of Almighty. I'll give the arguments and also rebuttal. Okay. What we are actually talking about is that we have to deal with the people and not the social media. That's what you're supposed to keep in mind. There was a contradiction about from the first proposer and the second proposer. The first proposer said that it's one person kept a view in the social media that caused the problem. Then the second person said it's a group of people that causes it. But I want to say they are all themselves are contradicting themselves. They don't understand even what they're also talking about. But the thing is that it's a one-man thing. It's one-man event. Let's take this reality thing, realistic option, is that it's only one candle can give light to this whole room if this room is dark. But if you want the darkness, we have to put off the candle. We can't block our eyes and say, yeah, I'm in the darkness right now. We have to put off the candle. It's the same in this way. If we have a problem, example, the lack of security in this place, if we have the lack of security in this place, we have to put off the cause, which is one person view. Okay, we can say maybe it's one person contradicting the others, denied. It's one person contradicting the others that through his view. Listen, in social medias, there's a part of comments. It's us people who we are ignorant of knowing more. We stand on one thing. Only one person has said. But if you look at the comments, you can get that, yes, this person commented this, but it's wrong.
Point of information.
Denied, but this thing is wrong. So it's our own ignorance. It's you yourself. You know what is right. You know what is wrong. Why should you follow the wrong thing? Okay, let's say like the real. I accept it.
Question. How do you plan on teaching? How do you plan on changing people's minds? Do you agree that a country is obliged to promote national security? And do you still also believe that under Article 3, everyone has a right to life, liberty, and security of person?
Everyone has a right to life, liberty, and security. Liberty is freedom of speech, which is something when you practice the freedom of speech, what? Social media, that's an obvious view, it's obvious. Okay, let's go back to what I was speaking about. We said about in their definition that censorship is about suppression of the social media that is against the human rights. Something that is against the human rights. It does not bring sense to imply what is also against who you are. We are all humans. How can you deny it? How can we go against what or who we are? Also, there's that thing about foundation that it came through a point of interruption that where is the foundation about this? Is social media not a foundation about all this crisis, all this insecurity? But let's look. Why are we suppressing on one thing but we're not looking on the other thing? Accepted?
Do you agree that a country is obliged to promote national security?
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. But on the other side of foundation, as I go back to the part of foundation, is that before social medias, riots could be made still. Through these things, like in the public recreation areas, example, the clubs, people used to meet there, they discuss, hey, there's this political thing going around, let's go against it, denied, let's go against it. There's this thing called vijiweni. in quotes, it's called vijiweni. Young youths stay together. They say, there's this problem, let's go, let's make a riot. But they don't mostly do it through social media. So how can we just look on one thing? But anyway, but look what, it's because of advancing on the other part, that's why they denied. They came to this other second part. Okay, let's also see this. The London uprising. A point came about of denied about the London uprising. Was the London uprising caused by a community of people, or was it caused by a single person? It's a single person. And did he do it? So the reason was that he gave his view through the social media. Denied. He gave his view through the social media. He used it as a tool. But if the social media could not be there, he could use in another way. Still the same thing could happen. Denied. The London uprising could still occur. It's just an obvious thing. So here, if we want to bring the security of a place, let's look at the core reason, the real thing that caused it, which is a person himself, a person's mentality. We have to create a person's mentality. As suggestion, and our point was said that we can't change a person's mentality. Let's go back to the past. We had this thing about the colonialization, whereby there's something the French brought was called assimilation. They changed the people's language, the people's culture. They became like black French. It's the same as us. It can happen. We can be changed who we are. Through globalization, it also changed who we are. There are problems going on here in African societies, like the female genital mutilation, these things, but we are changed. As for Africans, we had in our mentality that it is good. We brought it is good. But through the social medias, accepted?
Do you agree social media is used as a platform to spread propaganda?
I agree, but it's not the only cause, and it's not the bigger cause of spreading the propaganda. We have to deal with the bigger causes, which is a person's mentality. When you are supposed to be molded since when you're young. A child is young. How you bring the child? You are bringing the child to be listening to wrong, to be having a wrong mentality about the country. Obviously, the child will do this. But if you bring the child that this is your country, take care of it. Be a patriot of it. Even when the child later on grows up and says like, there's a right about my country, someone has to do this and that, that child will say, I have to stand for my country. I'm a patriot. I'm supposed to do this and not do that. So it's not the bigger thing. That cannot be a compliment about that. Anyway, state sensitivity was something brought that this is due to bring the security, to bring security among the nation. Okay, let's see this. Terrorism. Terrorism is something that is done in private way. I can't just come because I have my friend. I make sure we make all the plans about terrorism through the social media. It's a private thing. It's something that you do in secret. So I want your social medias like the Facebook. The Facebook can be viewed by anyone. Your plan will be diminished. So they do things like phone calls, which are not social medias actually. So I just want to conclude is that social medias are not supposed to be censored, are not supposed to be restricted. But what we are supposed to do, we control it. And also what we are supposed to keep mostly on our mind is that we are supposed to stop the core thing which causes the problems in the state, which is the people's mentality and not any other thing than that. So social medias are not supposed to be restricted, but it is us people's mentality is supposed to be built up in a good way. And this, I rest my case. Thank you.
Dear judges, the August House, I greet you very well. I would like us to first create a simple world, a world that is advocating for freedom of opinion, with very many people's lives demolishing through just one person's opinion. I want us to imagine another world that looks at security of people despite the opinion of one person. Yes, we understand that that person has a freedom, or has a right to opinion. But at what cost is this opinion? Is this opinion affecting more than 1,000 lives? Is it the reason as to why national security is affected? Now, dear judge, imagining these two worlds, I see that we cannot opt for a world where our country, our political stability as Africa is going to be threatened. Now, dear judge, I believe I would like to take again a further step to re-emphasize what we meant by state-managed issues. We meant anything that is likely to compromise national security, which may be different highly classified files. And then we also talked about censorship as a suppression of speech, communication, or other information that is concerning, that is concerning state-managed or sensitive issues that are inconvenient by government outlets. Now, dear judges, I want to put us in a position that today, as the preposition said, we are not against what they say, or we're not against social media as the opposition side has come up against us. However, we've said that, yes, everyone has a right to information, but the information that we want to censor as the government is the information that is highly sensitive to national security. Therefore, driving us back to our tagline, which is national security, an obligation. In a point of information, I asked the current speaker, do you believe in Article 3 of the Human Rights Declaration that everyone has a right to life, liberty, and security of person? They were okay with that. We told them again about Article 22 that looks at social security of a person and how someone is supposed to realize different policies that are put up nationally. We believe that one life or one person's opinion that is going to affect more than 1,000 lives is better when it is kept or retained because it's going to affect national security, other than us as a country going through extra costs when we could stop something like that. Now, let me quote what the current speaker said. She came up and gave us an example of a light bulb, that if light is flowing in a room and there is one point of, or there's a source that is providing this light, if you switch off the light, if you switch off the switch, okay, if you turn off the switch, all the light will turn off. Now, I want to put this back in this same case. We asked them, please listen, we asked them that, do you accept that social media is a platform to spread propaganda? They agreed. We asked them, do you agree that a country is obliged to promote national security? They accept. Do you agree social media is used as a platform to spread public propaganda? They still accept it. Now, basing on these three questions, I believe that why shouldn't we eliminate these things that are sensitive to our national security? We as team preposition, we've given you our reasons as to why we should do this. We've given you a major reason as to why national security, why this part of social media should be censored, looking at things such as protecting nationals, suppressing uprisings. And then we also went back to the African Union aspirations or 2063 agenda. Now, under this agenda, we look at promoting a secure Africa. Now, dear judges, they already agreed that propaganda can cause insecurity, or people can strike because of one man's opinion. And yes, we also accept that. However, if you can stop the disease before it spreads into people, they actually believe that changing people's minds, for example, they gave us an example. They talked about the assimilado policy. Now, let me inform them about the assimilado policy. They say that the French and the Africans that they colonized were at the same ranking. We accept that work, but what happened in the end? They still went through under colonizations, and the French stepped on them. Therefore, if they are opting for such policies that are of the prehistoric era and things that are not going to come up to do a better place for national security, I believe we are not in position to take up their argument. Not granted. They came up and talked about that the problem is not social media, but the people. Now, dear judges, we all know that the government is in charge of promoting security and all that. And we believe that the government has done its endeavors to do everything it can. They have said that they are going to teach people how to use social media. Isn't this incurring more costs? Tell me, is there a social media manual? Having very many people registering on Facebook. Actually, if you're going to teach people how to use social media, you're going to first stop that social media, and then you give them conditions. Therefore, they are trying to contradict themselves by trying to accept that social media should be censored because they accept that social media is not being used very well. Therefore, dear judges, I believe there is a contradiction in the opponent's case. Point of information granted.
I just want to give an information that we are not teaching people how to use the social media, but we are teaching people on ways to control themselves on using the social media. Thank you.
So, dear judge, they say that they are going to teach people on ways to how to control themselves on social media. They are going to teach people on ways how to control themselves on social media. Let me give you an example. My parents have always told me never to use my phone at different times. They've tried to sensitize me that, David, don't use this phone. Don't use this phone at this time. But I've tried, but I can't stop. Why? It's addictive. You see, now, the mere fact that if a parent has failed to do that, how is the government going to do it? How about we opt for a better option? Because by saying that they're going to control social media, gives us a thing in mind that there is a problem with social media. Because you cannot suggest a solution without a problem. Now, dear judges, I draw back to our case that talks about us looking at censorship of matters that are affecting national security. Reason, we know that this is going to protect the nationals. This is going to suppress uprisings. And this indeed is in line with the dream that Africa looks to achieve in the future. Please, keep calm. I'd like to progress. They came up, actually, their second speaker agreed that a country is obliged to national security. And we clearly told you that, yes, if national security is the matter, we should actually work on national security. And censorship of social media is actually what? Promoting national security. We came up and asked, they actually we talked about the three major arguments, which is usage, because they cannot control usage, what is exposed, which they cannot control, unless they still go through censorship. Talked about definition of censorship, which I repeated earlier on, and then I write to opinion. But we told you, if one man's opinion is a cost to more than billions and billions of lives, why should we take that up? Why should we put ourselves in a place that we're going to take up a world that is destroying us, a world that is looking at insecurity, stability, and yet there's a simple medicine that these governments can put in place, a simple medicine such as censorship of social media, that not just censorship of all social media, but censorship of this information that seeks to threat national security. Therefore, dear judge, because as team opposition, they have not been in any place to come up and oppose what we clearly said as team preposition, we see that there is a clear lack of insufficiency, necessity, justification in their case. Thank you very much for listening to me. I rest my case. And I still stand to say that national security is an obligation. Thank you very much.
Okay, I want to talk about a few things. First, I will refute their points, and then I will come back to our stand. Okay. The third speaker spoke about that we are saying that they are against social media. No, we are not saying that you are against social media. What we are saying that we are against that thing that social media must be censorship. That one, what we are against. And what our stand is, we are standing that we are not supposed to deal with the platform which the thing is happening. No, we are supposed to deal with the people or the one who are using that platform to do something. You spoke about social media to be a platform where all those things are done. Yes, it's a platform just like magazine, how the platform. It's a platform just like newspaper. It's a platform just like any other thing. So, to give you an example, so if ADC, this competition, is the platform for somebody to do something which is immoral, what you are saying, you say that you are supposed to censor it, to restrict it, because it was a platform which something was used, which is correctly wrong. What we are standing at, we are supposed to deal with the people who use this platform for the wrong things. We are supposed to deal with that person who used the platform. The platform is not the problem. The platform is not the problem. The problem is the person using the platform. The last speaker spoke about how you use your phone. There are two different things between using it and how you use it. Using it, yes, it's perfect, but how you use it. So what we are saying that you have to know that the thing there, so that it does not mean that the social media, because they're there, everyone use it wrongly to go against the national security. No, but it is there. It's your choice. Use it how? Just like the way you give the example. I'll take it.
So, in case you're given all the money, how do you plan on doing that? I'm not bringing it up as you to bring up a plan, but in case, how are you going to change people? Because the government is already trying to change people. Why don't we just eliminate or censor that bit that is affecting national security?
Okay. It's a good thing that the government has been trying to educate people. So, for myself, if I get that money, I will find a way to use the powerful mode of information which I can teach the people. I can use the figures which can stand and teach the people on how to use the thing. So that money will give me, the good people, the motivation which are good to speak to the people and educate them. Okay. And the second speaker talked about the nature. He said we cannot change nature. We are really completely against that. Nature can be changed. Take this example. As Tanzanians, it's their nature. It's their nature to speak Swahili. They have been born speaking Swahili. They are speaking Swahili. But is that fact make that because they are born, it's their nature to speak it, they cannot speak another thing? No. If they get something which will help them understand something which is different and the importance of that new knowledge, that nature can be changed. So, to talk on that point, I can say the social media is a very good platform which can change that nature by educating them and making them aware of where the world is going and how they can stop their inferiority things and come to the worldwide space.
Two questions. Do you still speak Swahili? Second, why shouldn't the government censor social media?
I do speak Swahili, but because I do speak Swahili as my nature, but that fact has not stopped me to learn from English. That's why I'm speaking the English. The second question I will answer you later. So, what we are standing for, you talked about London uprising, you talk about terrorism, you talk about everything. Social media was not the one which caused that London uprising. Social media was not the thing which caused terrorism. That's why we're standing for. The people were the one who started it. So as social media used as a platform, they also were able to use another platform, which can be calling meeting, which can be something else which they can communicate. So the problem is not on the social media, the problem is on the people.
Go to information.
Another thing, you talk about, you asked our part that isn't it the responsibility of the government to provide national security? We agreed with that, yes. It's the responsibility of the government to provide national security. But the point comes, how the government providing that nature security? How the government doing the thing to provide that nature security? Isn't it supposed to educate first the citizen, the importance of that security? Isn't it supposed to teach the citizen how important their security will be? rather than restricting the social media. So we come back to our point that the thing which really matters here is the people, not the social media. So we are coming here. We believe that the source and the thing which we are supposed to deal with is the source and the end. And the source is the people. And the one who will be affected are the people too, not the social media. So what we're supposed to do, let's concentrate. Let's deal with the people. Let's make the people aware of everything. Let's make the people aware of how to use social media. Let the people aware of what is wrong and what is right on the social media. Then social media will have no problem. The country will have security. The country will be fine because everything is understood by the source and the one which effect will come to rise. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear judges in the house, prior to any other information I'll provide, I'd like to restate our points and compare them to their arguments. Dear judges, we had a point about human rights and privacy violation. It is a right, according to the opposition, it is the right of a person being to have the privacy. And the proposition came up for and said that this privacy, the fact that you have the privacy, you misuse the privacy to hinder problems. And we said yes. A person misuses the privacy to cause problems. Now, judges, this is in our favor that the person is the problem here. Because we have a right to have the privacy as people, yes. They come up for and say that we misuse this privacy. Yes. Now, we are the problems here. The misusing part is the problem. Not where we misuse it at. No. We are the problem. So I think we believe that it's still in our side that we should focus on the people. Dear judges, we also said that it blocks transparency. Censoring social media blocks transparency. There are sensitive issues which are known by the people. There are sensitive issues which can be contributed by the people. Now, if we censor these people from contributing through social media, dear judges, it's still going to be denying the chance to these people to show up and correct. So it's still in our sides that we really need the transparency, dear judges. Also, it is a source of spreading knowledge. This classified information, dear judges, I'd like to clarify that the classified information is not accessible to any person who is not involved with the government issues. And it is not allowed to be shared in any social network. So if it is classified information they brought up for, it is not realistic because classified information about government is never shared in Facebook or social media. It is classified. That is what classified means. Now, dear judges, to conclude, the clash and the whole debate narrowed down to a very simple point. As the opposition, as the proposition, they looked at the problem, which is the platform used. Now, as the opposition, we looked at the bigger picture, dear judges. Who uses this platform? The bigger picture. What is the real problem? Because Facebook will be Facebook, Instagram will be Instagram. But now, how is it used? Now, this is the big problem, dear judges. It's like saying, I will give an example, a logical example. You have sugar in the house, and your child keeps stealing sugar. Now, what do? We take sugar out and keep it in a neighbor's house? No, we train our child that this is not to be stolen. No, that's what we stand for. We train the community. We train the real problem. Sugar is not the problem here. The real problem is the one who uses sugar. The real problem is the thief. Actually, stealing is the problem here. So misusing is the problem here. Now, who misuses it is the people. So we'd like to suggest that the proposition came out with a problem which is fundamental and accepted, but they failed to come up with a viable solution. They failed to deal with the real problem. And for that case, we'd like to suggest that our points are taken and considered, that the people are the real problem instead of the platform used. Dear judges, to conclude, it is better to teach me what is right or wrong rather than prevent me from finding out. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, as the preposition said, our burden was simply to show you that censorship of social media on only state-sensitive and managed issues is important and should be. I would like to tell you that we fulfill that burden. The opposition side had a burden of rebattling our cases and crushing them down. But ladies and gentlemen, let me list to you some of the cases that were not even touched and still lie in our case standing. We talked about the different articles that support the African Union, that are by the African Union, and therefore bring Africa to our side. They did not touch any of those or rebut them. We talked about the need to protect nationals and prevent uprisings. They did not touch that. We talked about the risk at which we should put one man's opinion to another. They did not. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to simply tell you, today, the opposition side may think they've won, simply because they said, and this was their main point, that the problem is with the people, and therefore, we should deal with the people. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, as the preposition said, that shedding light onto these people's problem, one person's problem and error, shedding light on it onto millions of people and causing them to fight about it is not solving the problem. How are you solving this person's problem? They said they want to change his nature. How are you changing his nature? By putting what he has done wrong on social media and causing millions of people to fight and lose life because of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I will proceed. They said that we should teach people how to use social media. Wow. Well, we honestly don't think there's a manual on how to use social media. And by the mere fact that you want to teach someone how to use social media, you're limiting them and already contradicting with yourself on what you said about the right. Now let me get to the right. They said that they have a right, to freedom of speech, that they have a right to freedom of expression. But we say that the countries, the nations, have an obligation and duty to protect their citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, are you going to advocate for rights in a country where you're not secure? Are you going to advocate for rights in a country where you're prone to conflict? Ladies and gentlemen, I say no. We say no. Ladies and gentlemen, to proceed, they said that one man's views can help to change the course of what's happening without a platform. But we said no. Social media as a platform is what would cause one man's view to change. And therefore, this same social media that we have said is this same social media that's bringing to light these problems and causing people to fight about them should be censored. And not just censored. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as first speaker, I came here and streamlined the case, should not just be censored, but censored on only matters concerning state-sensitive issues and managed issues. Now, ladies and gentlemen, looking at all that we've said, and judging by our direction, social media should be censored. On one hand, we have one man's opinion. On the other hand, we have millions of lives. What's more important? Thank you.
Another round